thank you very much for having me, and thank you to all of you to allowing me to beam into wherever you are this evening. Years ago, my daughter, Rachel, who's now 11, and a current picture is on the right, but past pictures on the left there. Well, when she was 2 years old, she had a problem. See, Rachel was obsessed with her birthday. She loved her birthday. And why wouldn't she? It's the greatest day of her life. She gets presents. Everybody adores her. She gets as much candy and cake that she wants, and she gets to stay up late. Why would you not love your birthday? And so Rachel had a problem one day because as she went around continuously asking me, when's my birthday? When's my birthday? When's my birthday? I finally got annoyed with her saying, Rachel, I've already told you, like, go and do something else. And so she had this problem. She wanted some critical information in her world, in her life, and I was not providing it to her. Now, we had just gotten a little Google thing that sat on top of our piano, and so she had seen me and my partner many times talk to it and to get critical bits of information. And so, with this problem in mind, she walked up to it. She stood up on the top of her tippy toes and she said, "Hey, when is August 29th?" And Google says, hey, it is in like 143 days. And at the moment, you saw this excitement come into her eyes. Like, oh my goodness, I got this piece of information. I got what I was looking for. But in that moment of excitement, it passed quickly because suddenly there's a moment of question that kind of came across her face. And she stood up again on her tippy toes and yelled at it, "Hey, Google, is that a long time?" Didn't have quite down quantity yet. Oh, there goes my Google. She did not, she didn't have quantity down. Anyhow, AI has actually been in our lives for a very long time. But in 2022, as many of you probably recall, we've got to a new level of AI where we are now into this whole area of large models and generative AI, where we are able to actually allow AI to do a lot of new work. And what's even more scary is just how fast this is developing. So Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, he had a kid last year, or actually a kid this year in 2025. And in a recent interview, he said, "My kid will never be smarter than AI." AI is developing at such a speed at this point that his child will never be smarter than it. AI will be more intelligent than humans will be. In fact, as a researcher, this is starting to scare us because there's predictions that in 2027, which is not a long way away, AI will surpass our capacity to actually do a lot of the research, where we will be going to AI and saying to it, hey, we have a question that we need to have answered. AI will do the big lit review, pull everything together and say, okay, human, here's the experiments that I need you to go and do. We humans will run off, do those experiments, come back, give our AI the data that it's looking for. It'll crunch the numbers and go, okay, humans, here's another bit of research I need, or some other experiments I need you to do. We'll go off, do them, bring it back, jump into the AI, it'll crunch the numbers and say, okay, human, here's the answer to your problem. The rate of development of AI is just absolutely unbelievable, and none of us really know what's coming next. Just how powerful these tools are getting is absolutely amazing. When it comes back to education, though, one of our worries in life is, well, what do we do? How do we protect our kids? However, already, this is a 2025 study that was done in Canada across 1,000 students. 9 in 10 youth are already using AI in Canada. So we're not going to be able to tell them not to do it because they're already doing it. Kids out there are very much playing with a lot of these tools on a regular basis. Now, in the same study, when they asked these students, do you use this? Do you use AI effectively? The youth said, 71% of them said, yeah, we do. We use AI very effectively. We're great with using AI. So you ask the teachers were at 38% saying, no, we're not so. If you ask students to use it responsibly, 73% say, yeah, we're using it responsibly. It's not just writing our essays for us. We're using it in an ethical way. 36% of teachers go, oh no, we're not sure that they are. So suddenly what happens is there's dichotomy of ground where what youth think AI is doing for them, their immersions into AI and what it's doing for them, versus educators and adults, what we're worried that is going on. And in many cases, the worry is that AI is almost like a steroid. It's giving students immediate bang for long-term consequences. We don't know what this immediate gains are going to be, how it's going to be able to accelerate their thinking or creativity. And we also don't know what the long-term consequences are. Is that going to be? Is it going to pull away from their creativity on the long run? Are they not going to be able to think through more formally around things? Are they not going to develop essential skills such as the ability to write and communicate their ideas? Are they always going to be dependent on a bot to help them think through problems? So we're at this situation where I think as educators, as parents, as researchers, we're concerned about what these AI tools are going to be able to do in the long term for our students. And that's why I think it's really important as educators that we sit down, and as parents, we sit down and we start to teach our students. We have to develop AI literacy with the students that we work with to actually show them how to use this in an effective way, to have them help them to learn how to do it so that it's not just writing their essays for them, but really also to show how it can actually be used as a tool to actually aid in their learning, and what parts can actually help in their learning, and what places can actually inhibit or stop their learning. And when I talk about AI literacy, the first thing I'm really thinking about is about the importance around prompts, developing good prompts. Because the way that these tools work is they actually work on us actually giving it some, almost like a program based on the way that we talk to it. And any good prompt that a student or any of us need give an AI tool really needs to have 4 key components to it. The first thing is we need to do is we need to give it a persona. We need to tell it what to simulate. See, the way that AI works is it gets trained on data, and the data that it's been trained on is basically all like the internet, books, all kinds of stuff that we can been able to feed into these huge language models. We gave it all of humans' knowledge at this point and allowed it to crank through it. So if you ask it a general question such as like, what's the definition of learning disability? Then what AI is going to do is give you the most average answer there is out there in human knowledge. It's probably not the most current answer or the most cutting edge answer out there. It's going to give you the most cited, the most general answer out there. So by giving it a prompt or giving it a persona, what I'm telling AI to do is don't think about all the average stuff. Think about information that has to be with whatever that persona is going to be. So as a psychologist, be about psychologists, be about a school and clinical psychologist. And that kind of pushes away a lot of other noisy information and keeps it focused in on that area. The second thing is we have to give it a task. What do we want it to be able to do? So we have to give it a task to be able to complete. The third thing is we need to give it context. It needs to know what to work on, what information to use. And the final thing we need to do is give it a format. How do we want it to be able to respond to us? So if I needed to do a quick, kind of having to look for an answer very quickly around something, then I need to kind of follow these 4 things. Now, just to show you this really quickly, I'm going to show you, this is Google Copilot right here. Now, I love Copilot, especially as an educator, and especially if my board has Copilot, because what Copilot allows me to do is go into a special safe mode. That means that this AI tool is not going to learn anything I give it to it. And I know that because it has this little green shield up here, which means that every piece of information I give Copilot, it's not actually taking that and cannibalizing it into its system, learning from it. Everything I give Copilot, it's not it's not going to learn from it. It's going to go in and then get discarded. So this gives me a level of protection around the AI that I'm using, and so yeah, it's a really good thing for students. So Copilot, really nice, especially with the safety mode, and that's usually only through institutes such as school boards, universities, other big institutes that have bought the enterprise edition with it. So I want Copilot to be able to do something, so I'm going to ask it to help me define the definition of a learning disability. So I want you to simulate a school and clinical psychologist as well as a researcher in psychology around students with disabilities, period. I need you to find me an answer to a specific question, period. The question is, what is the definition of a learning disability, period? And I want you also to look for a definition that is in the Ontario context, period. The format I want is that you can give it to me in bullet format, period. Give it my prompt. Again, I had my persona, my task, the content, and then it, and here it goes. So it's actually pulling up for me the Ontario Ministry of Education's definition of PPM 8 from 2014, and it's also pulled me up the Ontario Psychological Association's definition and the LDAO combined one from 2018. So this is good. So it's actually gone out and grabbed me kind of some key bits of information that I am looking for. And now, if I had done this before, oh shoot, let me simulate this. I'll use Gemini. Without doing that, what is the definition of a learning disability? If I just give it a very simple persona like that, then it's going to go out and grab me other references out there. But by giving it very specific information, it's going to help me get in. It's actually not a bad definition. Gemini just upgraded itself a couple of days ago, and the new Geminis are actually working very, very well. Gemini's from Google. But anyhow, the key thing in all this is that we need to give it instructions, and those instructions always come in the form of a prompt, and those prompts have to have 4 key elements to them. So when it comes to students with learning challenges, then often what we're thinking about as AI is that AI can actually become a type of assistive technology to support students with learning challenges. Now, assistive technology is any technology that's commercial, modified, customized, that can assist or improve the functioning of an individual with a disability. And assistive technology, such as a wheelchair, what it really is meant to do is to make a person much more independent in the work that they're doing, much more efficient in the work that they are doing, and more accurate in the work that they're doing. So if I'm a paraplegic and I don't have a wheelchair, before a wheelchair was invented, then I could either pull myself across the ground, a very effortful task, or someone could pick me up and move me from point A to point B, meaning I'm very dependent on that person, and probably not really good with the accuracy in terms of moving along, probably a lot of, be hard. Wheelchair comes along, suddenly I'm much more independent. I have a tool that allows me to do it myself. I'm much more efficient in what I'm able to do because I'm not. It's easier for me to be able to do it in a more accurate. And those are the key hallmarks of what we're looking in an assistive technology. So for students who have learning challenges of some sort, if they're going to use a technology to actually aid them in their education or in their work, then that technology has to kind of meet these 3 areas. And so far, when we look at the 94 different assistive technologies out there on the market, there's only really 3 that really help students with like learning disabilities and ADHD and ASD out there. The first one that's really good is text-to-speech software. So the ability to read out loud to a student is excellent. If I can't read the word or I get distracted very easily when I'm reading, having something read out loud to me is an amazing tool to be able to help me understand what is on the printed page. And so that's an amazing assistive technology that can help out. The second one is word prediction. So as I'm typing, the computer is guessing at what words I'm trying to write. Wonderful for students who are slow typers, students who have really poor handwriting, so have really bad sloppy printing, then they need to go to the computer to write out. And also students who are really bad with spelling. Another really great technology to be able to help out. And the third one is calculators. Calculators are amazing for students who have basic math issues. Again, with students who have ADHD or learning disabilities or even ASD, often the executive functioning challenges impact their ability to learn and do basic numeric operations, basic calculations. And so therefore the calculator is an amazing assistive technology to be able to help out. And so far, we've only had those three technologies really be the critical ones to help students. But now that we have AI actually adds, and with those three tools, as you see, they're all very foundational skills. It's all about overcoming text and getting it read out loud. It's overcoming just getting ideas down on the computer, and the last one is just basic calculations. We've never had good technology to help out with students kind of what we call their higher cognitive abilities, their real executive functioning abilities, the ability to plan, organize, prioritize, to synthesize information, to generate new ideas, to get going and monitor oneself as they're doing work. We've never had any technology to help out there. And that's where we hope that AI actually can be a tool to support students with their higher order executive functioning. So when I'm talking about kind of executive functioning, really what I'm doing is thinking about attention. Attention is our ability to sustain ourselves onto a specific thing and not pay attention to other stuff, and to be able to do the tasks that we need to do. And attention has three components to it. The first one is alertness, just getting the brain turned on, getting the brain started. A lot of our students that we work with are just under aroused. They're just yawning, they're tired, or they don't have enough dopamine in their brain. There's a neurodevelopmental challenge that they're having, and they can't engage their attentional systems. Other students have difficulties with orienting, paying attention to this and not those other things, or the thoughts they have going on. A lot of students who have high anxiety or who have trauma in their life often have orienting issues because they're either worried about the thoughts, or those worried thoughts are running around in their brains, or they're having a hard time, they're hypervigilant in the environment that they're in. And the last group is the kids who have executive functioning, that planning, organization, prioritizing group. These kids who have these EF challenges, they have a hard time getting going, continuing going on their work, monitoring how they're getting things done. And so kids who have either one or more of these challenges with alertness, orienting, or executive functioning, often the place that we see the biggest issue come out is homework, not getting homework done. For years, one of the biggest issues that we have is, well, not biggest issues, one of the biggest reasons for referrals from parents is they bring their children into the office and say, homework is an awful time. I hate homework. We're constantly fighting. We all dread homework time. And homework every single night is the same thing. You know, Johnny comes in and I say, Johnny, what do you got to do tonight for homework? And Johnny goes, I don't know. And I'm like, why? Well, let's check your agenda. Let's call a friend. Let's look on Google Classroom. And then Johnny gets mad at me, and anyhow, ends up being in a big blow up and a big fight that begins to emerge. So homework time becomes a really sensitive piece that we've often wanted to find. Is there a way to actually bring in a process to be able to help to break the dynamics that are going on in that situation? And that's where we've actually found AI to be one of these tools to actually help out with this, to help out with students in this situation. And the first thing that we often work with students around who have homework challenges is just to look at how productive they are during their time on their homework. Because often kids will tell you, oh, I'm very productive. You know, I go up to my bedroom and I sit there for like an hour and well, actually, no, I'm not very productive. I actually don't get a lot done. I wonder what happens during that hour, because I sat there at my computer for the whole hour to be able to do this. So the first thing we want to do is actually help kids to understand how productive they are. And so there's a wonderful tool you can actually get for free. It's called Rescue Timer. You can add it onto all of your digital devices. And what it does is gives you a productivity monitor. It actually shows you how productive you are in your day. And it will tell you what things you're doing, how much time you're spending on different things. It breaks it down into like the hour by hour, moment by moment. It will show you what you're doing. So often with this tool, this Rescue Timer, when the students go up and they sit down and they go, oh, I'm at my computer for an hour, well, we can open up the Rescue Timer, and in a non-judgmental way, we look at that and go, oh yeah, you opened up Google Docs, you worked in Google Docs for 10 minutes, you then opened up Instagram, you're in Instagram for 45 minutes, you went back to Google Docs for 10 minutes, and then you went to YouTube. So in that hour time, you were actually only on task for like 20% of the time or less. So therefore you have a very low productivity score. And as students actually get this, they're actually quite amazed to look at these scores, to see how these things are going, what's going on with this, so that they can begin to understand what is their actual productivity. And it becomes a bit of a game. So we use this to kind of gamify doing homework. Can you increase your productivity score? This is a non-judgmental way that students can get immediate feedback about what they're doing and what not they're doing. And because we do it in a non-judgmental way, then they feel safe to kind of share this data with us. And we work collaboratively with them to be able to increase their productivity. And so in that, then the first thing we often hear from students is they start talking about, well, I don't know what to do for homework. So this is the next problem that we often run into. Students go, I get these work assignments, I get these assignments from my school, this kind of homework here, and I just don't know what to do. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so again, this is where AI can start to come in to be able to help to support a student. So this is what we call, this AI tool we call talking to your assignment. So I'm just going to open up a new chat here. So anytime I'm back into my Copilot here, anytime I start a new thing, I'm going to reset it to back to baseline by hitting a new chat. I don't want it to just add on to the chat, because as the chat gets longer and longer and longer, AI is more likely to make errors. You might have heard in the media this idea of hallucination, where it just starts to randomly make things up. And as a chat gets longer and longer and longer, the rate of hallucination starts to increase significantly. So we always want a student to start off with a blank window where they're at. And then I'm going to give it a prompt. I want you to simulate a grade 8 science teacher, period. I'm going to provide you with an assignment that I have to do, and I need you to be able to break it down into a summary as well as the specific things I need to do to complete this assignment, period. I will paste the assignment into the chat window in a moment, period. I would like you to give me a quick summary with bullet points on what to do next, period. So I give it that. I now am going to just grab my assignment, bring it over, drop it in there, let it load it up, and then let it go to town. And now what it's going to do is look at the assignment. It's going to give me a quick summary and give me kind of some points on what I need to be able to do. And now I can start to interact with my assignment. I can start talking to it. Okay, so it looks like I need to write a 2-page essay on climate change. Is that right? And then hopefully it says no. No, not exactly. Based on the assigned instructions, you do not need to write a 2-page essay. The task is to research, prepare a 5-minute presentation, present your findings to the class. So quickly, it's going to allow me to start to correct for my misunderstandings. Okay, so what aspect of climate change do I have to look at? And then gives me how climate change contributes to wildfire, the impact of wildfires, so it's breaking this down for me again. This is great. can you create me a table that has due dates when I need to get each of the specific tasks done by, period. So today is December 1st, and I have to hand this in on December 20th, period. In the first column, I want you to have the task that I have to complete. In the second column, I want you to have the due date. In the third column, I want you to provide me with any instructions or additional resources that would help me to get the task completed. And in the final column, I want you to provide me a little checkbox that I can check off once I have that done, period. Again, please put this into a table format. Say all that to my little AI, and here I go. So now it's going to create for me a table that has, first thing I need to do is choose a partner, need to do it tomorrow, confirm you will be working with, and then I can check that off. And then it's going to go through and give me all these different pieces to be able to help me out as I start to go through. And now, instead of kind of talking to my teacher, talking to a parent, I have something where I can have a conversation with, and it actually is creating me a tool that's going to help me out. I know for a lot of the students that have ADHD and other EF and attentional difficulties, a tool like this would be very helpful just so that they'd have it to be able to start to go through and look at and be able to record what they have. And in fact, it can also allow me to download it into a Word or PDF format, so I can even print it off or put it into my Google Drive so I have something to refer back to. So this becomes a really wonderful way to be able to quickly begin to engage with my assignments that are out there. But as you saw, the way that I was talking to my computer is, this is a pretty sophisticated way. What we find is most grade 7, grade 8 students aren't talking to the computer in this kind of language. This takes practice to get them to be able to understand how to talk to a chatbot to get the key information out there. And so as the students are kind of starting to introduce or get into these areas, what you might find to be more effective is not using a chatbot, but actually looking at apps. So when we are often thinking about AIs, we're often thinking about the pros and cons between chatbots, which is what I was just showing you, like Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, where I give it a prompt and they can interact back and forth with me, or an app. And an app is the app already has all of the kind of the prompts built into it, so that it is better able to kind of keep the student online. It has kind of some of those safeguards on there. So let me just get you an example of a really cool organizer. So this organizer is called Goblin Tool. And what Goblin Tool is kind of an EF app that has AI in the background. So I can click onto my Magic app and I can give it what I have to do. So I need to do a 5-minute presentation on how climate change is contributing to wildfires. Whoops. I wanted to generate that into a bunch of tasks. Okay, there it goes. Now it's created a list of things that I need to be able to do to be able to complete that as I go through. So it is a bit more limiting, doesn't have all the doesn't create the same kind of table, doesn't have my ability to interact back and forth with it, but what it is able to do is kind of break down a complicated task into a much more smaller tasks so that I can go through and kind of check those off as I'm going along. And then I can go through and have it estimate how long it's going to take me to do these different things along the way, so that it can, so I can see, okay, how much time do I need to kind of spend to it. It's not giving me due dates when I have to have things done by, but it is giving me some other information that I need. And if in any of these things I need to expand, I can hit the expand button here and it will generate another point, some more points for me. So Goblin Tools has a lot of the safety features built into the fact that it is not, you just can't get lost in kind of talking to it. Has those prompts built into it, so I don't need to know how to develop the prompt. It's all done there, but less powerful in the fact that I can't interact with it in the same way that I would typically interact with a chat bot. But still a really cool tool for a lot of students who are just getting into this area and need something to be able to help them out. So now that I've kind of got myself a little bit more productive and I've got my kind of AI helping me out in kind of organizing my life, the next thing I need to do is kind of dive into the work, actually learn about this kind of material that I am getting into. In the area of educational research, we've talked for a very long time, or a lot of research has been on this kind of what's known as the 2 sigma problem. And the 2 sigma problem basically talks about how powerful tutors are when helping students kind of develop and understand new concepts. So the solid orange line here, this is what a regular classroom is. The dotted blue line, this is when you have good kind of mastery-based learning going on, good direct instruction. So if they're actually doing like the science of reading or something like that, then typically you can boost a student's, produce the learning up by 1 standard deviation, 1 unit of growth higher. And then if you have a tutor, which is actually a 1-to-3 ratio, so it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, but it's a 1-to-3 ratio, and a 1-to-3 ratio, then you can actually boost this up by 2 standard deviations. That's going on. So tutors can be really good. And the key thing what a tutor does is it gives a student immediate feedback. So as I'm kind of interacting or learning with some new information, it's actually helping me understand that information by saying what I got wrong and what I got right. So AI, so there's been a lot of different research labs that have actually been looking at how can we use AI in a way to actually make it into a tutor that can help to facilitate the learning process. And in my lab, one thing that we've been working on is what we call the Miss Turton tutor. So Miss Turton was actually my special ed teacher in high school. She was absolutely amazing. And so we wanted to build an app, an AI tool that would be able to kind of help simulate her expertise. And the prompt that we have to be able to do it is actually a very long prompt, as you can see here. And this prompt is just to be able to help teach basic fractions. So when it comes to the AI tutors in using kind of general chatbots, kind of building really good prompts ahead of time is really important, and then having students kind of cut and paste them into the chatbots will then allow them to be able to interact in a way to kind of help them out. So I've taken this prompt here, dropped in here, and it's going to kind of help me out, kind of start to understand stuff. So welcome. What would you like to learn better today? Oh, okay, so this is a general one, it's not the math one. I need to learn about how climate change is impacting wildfires in North America. Great question. It's going to ask me how much time do I have to learn today? I only have 5 minutes right now. So then as a good teacher would do just quick kind of check for understanding. So understanding core link. What climate change is making wildfires in North America, and learning one key driver, picking either rising temperatures. So what would you like to tackle? So I want to tackle the, let me learn more about the rising temperatures and how that impacts wildfires. Great, rising temperature is a major factor. Let's break this down. And so it's going to give me a hint about how to understand how to do it. So wildfires need 3 things. Guess which one may be changed by, does rising temperature mainly change fuel ignition? So it's actually now helping me to learn the material by giving me a prompt and answer. So fuel. Nice reasoning. First is, and so it's going to actually correct me. So, what I have here is this really cool AI now that I can go back and forth in talking with, and it's going to actually help me start to learn some information about what's going on with wirefilers and make those connections. So AI tutors are really powerful, and in our lab, we've been really finding that students who can use an AI tutor can actually dive into a lot of information quickly to be able to synthesize that together. Again, there's apps out there to kind of help protect this. One of the best apps that's coming to Canada very soon, it's in the US, is the Khan Academy's AI app. And what it does is, again, it has all the safeguards built around it to be able to protect students as they interact with the AI tool. In fact, it has two AIs going on. One AI is kind of being the actual tutor, and there's another AI that's monitoring the tutor AI to make sure that it's doing everything proper and based on its specifications. So the AI apps are actually, tutor apps are getting very close to a point where they're coming out on the market in a big way, and I think they're going to have another big game changer for students that are out there. However, we always have a cautionary tale around these AI stuff, because what we know in the real world is that AI is not going to replace humans as educators. That social connection is still very important. There was actually a study done years ago where they thought, oh my goodness, we can make technology help make kids smarter. It's called Baby Einstein. You might have heard of this video program that you could purchase for your kids. And the idea was this video program was going to make kids learn everything, and there's going to increase their language productivity. And what the study actually found was the exact opposite. So though over time more kids who watched Baby Einstein, the lower their vocabulary scores were when they were 3 years of age. So we always have these cautionary tales. AI looks amazing, it's really powerful, but still we prefer a human to work with the student when we need to. But if there's, again, a situation where there's resistance, then having the AI kind of step in for a bit is okay, but humans still need to be monitoring what's going on and how our students are interacting with it. We don't want to ever have them be in a position where they're just using it completely without our awareness, or at least some monitoring happening. The other place that we often find that students have a lot of difficulties with is in the area of writing. Writing has been a big challenge. And again, when it comes to assistive technology for students who have learning challenges, really, we haven't had any good stuff to help out with writing. We have good stuff with what we call transcription. Transcription is the ability to get letters and words on paper fast and accurate. So we have voice recognition and word prediction and typing that's out there. But those tools don't actually lead to better writing, better kind of ideas being generated, more text produced that is logically linked. And so this is where we started to look again at AI to be able to help out. Now, when it comes to writing, the place that we wanted to grab our inspiration from was, again, the scientific literature. What do we know about writing? And we know a lot about how to teach writing. So there's a whole method called self-regulatory strategy development, SRSD, which is the most comprehensive, best way to teach any kid how to write, especially students who have learning challenges and executive functioning challenges. It provides a structure on how to help students generate their ideas, organize their work, expand on their ideas, edit their work, and review what they're going on. So as a side note, if you want to go and look at Think SRSD is a program to teach teachers how to do SRSD, or you can just Google self-regulatory strategy development. The work on around that is absolutely amazing. So we wanted to take SRSD as kind of the theoretical framework, or actually the model to be able to look at, but then we wanted to hook up our AI tool to be able to, instead of having the human there, the AI to be able to help to simulate what's going on in the editing process. And what we want to do is basically have the AI and the human, the student, to actually co-create the writing process together. And to be able to do this, we taught students how to be able to go through the process of planning, organizing, writing, editing, and reviewing, and do this alongside the AI. So we first wanted to teach students kind of prompts, how to write really good prompts so that they could be able to instruct their AI co-pilot to be able to help to co-create each of these sections or write each of these sections with them. And then we wanted to help them to see that after we've taught them, how well could they be able to actually do this independently. And what we learned from watching students to do this independently, even after we gave students tons of prompts and showed them how to do this, is students were actually really bad at writing prompts. Prompt writing was very, very challenging for students. And so we gave them a book. We thought, okay, maybe this time we're going to give you a whole book of prompts, and you can cut and paste those prompts over from the book into the computer. What did we learn from that? Students don't like to cut and paste prompts that much. They just wanted to sit there and tell it what they wanted to do. So they'd sit there and say, do you have any interesting facts or ideas I could start with? That is a very, very bad prompt to be able to get a computer to help you start to generate some ideas about your topic. And so we were just seeing that students were not developing very, very good prompts. And even after we had taught them the prompts, the prompts were better, but they still were not as well defined. So again, we needed to kind of look for something else to be able to help out with the writing one. And so the app that we started to play with is Jane AI. Let me just get this. Jane AI writing. There it is. So Jane AI writing is, unfortunately, there's a free piece to it, but it only will allow you to do so many. But what Jane AI will do is you can actually give it what you need to be working on, and it will actually start to develop the outlines for you, help you to develop the outlines, and then you can start to go in and do research and write sections, and it'll give you feedback based on the different sections that you're writing. So it'll help you to actually further and further develop your writing. So again, it's a app that has those prompts already built into it to facilitate the writing process. Now, the tool itself takes a little bit of learning how to use that tool. It really helps, it really forces students to start thinking more critically about the writing process. And if the teacher understands SRSD and how that all works, then it's a really good tool to kind of co-facilitate writing, where the students learning SRSD, and then they have a tool that can help support them more independently through that writing process. But our hope is that we will get better at teaching students how to write their prompts so that they can, again, co-create that work together. Now, we also did a study where we were kind of looking at how AI was editing students' work. So often what we're finding is students would write something, it wasn't the best writing out there, and we just give AI and ask AI to kind of edit what was going on. And what we found when we compared AI tools with kind of our traditional tools, so this is Google Docs online, this is Microsoft Word online, we found that AI tools were a lot better than our kind of just our built-in word processor spell checks when it comes to editing spelling. If students only could spell 19% of the words correctly versus spelling 67% or 84% of the words correctly, well, these tools down here were not great at being able to edit their work. However, some of the paid-for programs out there, like Grammarly, was also not wonderful at helping the students out. So if you have a real significant issue with spelling and you pay for Grammarly, Grammarly's only going to help you spell check 50% of your misspelled words. 50% of it, it's not going to figure it out. However, if we go to our bigger AI tools such as ChatGPT or ChatGPT 4 at the time, it was 100%. It could always edit and spell check every single correct word. And the prompt that we did for this one was a simple prompt. Please spell check the work that I'm going to provide you. I do not want you to change any of the ideas, just correct for the spelling. And with that simple prompt, it was the world's best spell checker in the world. When it came to grammar, again, we were quite surprised about the quality of grammar. Again, Microsoft Word, lousy grammar checker. Google, a little bit better if you weren't that bad at grammar, but if you're really bad at grammar, Google was had lousy grammar checker on there. Grammarly, again, thinking that that's what Grammarly was supposed to be doing right from the beginning. Again, not very good for students who had a lot of profound challenges in their writing, but our AI models perfectly for being able to correct grammar. And again, a very simple prompt. Please correct the grammar of the following sentences. Please do not change any of the ideas of what I've written for. Just need it to be written grammatically correct. And it could go through and actually change those ideas. But again, one of my research assistants who was actually doing this work, what she actually found more concerning, not only were these tools really bad at actually correcting the grammar, but when you went in and looked at the, you actually looked at the idea, how much of what is the percentage of the original ideas of the student remained after using an AI to do the grammar checking? If you again had very bad grammar as a student, and you use something like Quillbot or Grammarly, again, tools that are supposed to be built for grammar checking, grammar editing, they would only leave you with around 65 to 70% of your original ideas. So about 30% of your ideas were the computer's ideas. They were not your original ideas. If we go up to kind of ChatGPT at the time, and again, this was like now almost it's getting on to 2 years when we ran this study, it had it at 90% of your ideas were originally yours, and only 10% of them changed if you had significant issues. Now, if you didn't have a lot of grammatical issues, then the softwares were better. But for those students that I typically see in the clinic, they are the ones who have profound grammatic errors in their writing, and therefore this is what they're running to. The other place that we see is students who use voice recognition and just talk into the computers. They actually are down here often because of how bad the grammar is in terms of what they've dictated into the computer. And so if they're using the computer to just edit their work to make it grammatically correct after they did dictation to it, again, you're going to need something more powerful than these other tools to be able to really do a good job with it. So again, really having to look at these different tools to be able to help out. But through the two studies that we have going on right now, really are beginning to see that writing quality is improving significantly with our students who have ADHD and writing challenges when they are learning how to co-create their essays or their writing work alongside with the AI. The last one I'm going to leave you with today is with comprehension, reading comprehension. Often with students who have lots of difficulties with executive functioning, that they don't actually hold on to the information very well. You know, a teacher gives them a textbook or some worksheets, they look at this and they don't have a clue where to go. And so the last tool that I'm going to show you very quickly is Notebook LM. Notebook LM is a wonderful AI tool developed by Google to actually help students to study. So I can download a very complicated report. So I downloaded the UNESCO AI competency framework for students. It's a couple hundred pages long. Downloaded it into there. And what this tool will do now is it gives me a bunch of ways of interacting with it. So the first thing I can do is actually have it create for me a video, behind the scene. It's going to give me an audio overview of what it is, kind of a 13-minute playback on what is going on. And so I can audibly hear kind of a podcast about what I'm doing. And this is great because listen to the podcast, that's going to activate my prior knowledge. It's going to get my brain thinking about what I'm going to be learning about in this document. And often we want students to do that. We want to activate their prior knowledge before they kind of get into. The next thing I can do is I can look at a kind of some blueprints, some slides on what this is all about.
You know, AI is changing pretty much everything.
So it's actually going to create a little
ability are front and center. Building.
So it's actually created a video to be able to help me go through and see. It's kind of like a PowerPoint presentation video with voiceover to be able to go and see what's going on. I can then dig into this. I can actually open up a mind map tool, which is developed to actually dig through the different pieces of information so that I can go and see what those pieces of information are. And then when I click on it, it's going to pull me up the references. And then I can interact with it. Can you give me a 100-word summary of this section? And it's going to be able to kind of generate those kind of pieces. So again, I can interact with this text as I'm learning from it. To be able to check for my understanding, I actually have flashcards that I'm going through to check for it. So, you know, fill in the blank here to be able to see what's going on, and I can see what the answer is. So that's going to help me to test my understanding. So I can see this is it's a really powerful tool to help students in the area of learning new information, studying for that information, and just really, you know, again, interacting, having something that gives immediate feedback that they can ask questions to. And one of the nice things about Notebook LM is, again, it's in a safe environment. So if you have the Pro edition of this product, you're in a safe environment where you can be able to feed stuff. It's not learning from you. You're just interacting back and forth with it. So in the end, AI is quite amazing. It's awesome, but it's not perfect. And I always tell my students, AI makes still a lot of errors. And so we do not recommend AI for real sense, you know, that you have to check AI. That's a really important thing. The other thing that we also tell students is that it is very biased. It is very, very Western bias. It's based on mostly English at this point, though it is increasing its knowledge. But when you look at the internet is a very European, Western viewpoint. It does not capture all the ideas of the world. It was really interesting. I was at a conference in Australia, and I had a lot of the head researchers from Hong Kong were there demonstrating some of their new AI tools. And every time they said, "Oh, show me a picture of a student," even if they were using the Chinese version of AI, it still made like white students. The system AI is just inherently biased at this point because of the type of training data that we have given it. And so we have to be cautionary about that. We have to know that it can be dangerous. We don't want to be going to AI to kind of help us out with our mental health symptoms or talking to AI as a replacement, a friend. One of the worries I have right now is there's all these new AI tools that are coming, or toys coming out on the market. It scares the living daylights out of me. Real humans, we're really important. We need to talk to each other. Kids need to go out and play with each other and be friends. They don't need a computer to talk to. AI is not your friend. AI can be a coach. It can be a support tool to help you out, but humans are where we want to go. And then as educators, if we want to dive more deeply into these things, thinking about how as we can build our AI literacy so that we can work with our students, I really feel that the UNESCO competency framework, both for students and for teachers, is a wonderful place to go because it really provides you with kind of critical thinking around how am I going to teach students how to use AI, when should they use AI, when should they not use AI, and how can I kind of co-learn AI along with my students so that I can grow in its understanding, so I can continue to navigate and teach my students along the way. Because unfortunately, AI is part of our society today. It's not going anywhere. It's like the internet. It is here to stay. But hopefully, unlike social media, where we did not do a great job at teaching students how to navigate social media, hopefully we can work collaboratively to be able to help our next generation really understand AI. And if we do all that, then hopefully our kids, we will not be fighting with them around homework, and we can see them be successful and move on. So with that, I say thank you very much for listening and kind of letting me beam in, and I'll kind of open it up to any questions.
Thank you so